Welcome to the Friends of Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I'm Justin Mason, lead fantasy writer and analyst of friendsoffantasybenefits.com. Joining me on this episode is Dave McDonald. Dave, how you doing?
Good, man. It's been a really long time since we've talked, so I'm excited to get back into it with you.
Well, no, we just talked. I mean, we just did an episode.
Oh, I know. That was sarcasm.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's literally the next day. And
Yeah,
it's literally for us like 5 minutes. So
yeah. It's a little peek behind the curtain. We're recording all of these episodes for this week in one day, in one sitting. But you guys will be getting them day after day after day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And today's the Tuesday episode. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about potential pickups. Some guys who have been running hot, some guys with some good upcoming schedules, and how we're going to kind of apply that to our lineups to try to maximize the best stats we can for hitters right now. So before we do that, remind everybody where I can be reached on Twitter. It's just Mason FWFB. You can reach Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD. Don't forget to
add that.
Yeah. And you can follow Fantasy Benefits on Twitter at Fantasy Benefits. Give us a 5-star review, really helps us out, and we're going to give away a free t-shirt at the end of the month for one of those 5-star reviews. So if you do it on Spotify, make sure you send me a screenshot. You can do that via email, justmasonfantasy@gmail.com, or just DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. JustinMason FWFB. Let's jump in and talk about some of these kind of schedules and pickups that we might be looking at targeting. Start with Colorado. They're in Coors all week, and they're facing 3 lefties. So who are some of the guys you're looking to maybe stream this week in some of your leagues?
Yeah, so I play a lot of Yahoo and Fantrax leagues, and in these leagues, you're going to have kind of the caliber of guys that I'm going to talk about here available to you to pick up. Obviously, the super studs are all going to be owned, but a lot of these guys, especially the guys who play versus righties only or whatever, when they're not having a good week, when you're talking about Lamonte, Jake Fraley, those kind of guys who are great plays when they face at least 5 or 6 righties, but then when they're not, those are the guys that you drop and then you can kind of re-pick up later. So in the Colorado series, I'm assuming most of their, better players are going to be owned. The main guy who really crushes lefties is Randall Grichuk. The problem, and historically he's been really good versus them, and then this year he's been particularly good versus them. Although he's been good versus everybody this year, the problem is that they sit him a good amount. Like they sit him like 2, sometimes even 3 games a week. I don't know why, because he's definitely been one of their best hitters since coming back, but I'd still play him because I know he's going to play versus all 3 lefties, and then he'll probably play versus 1 or 2 of the righties, and that should be good enough to still be a good play this week. So Grichuk's my main guy. Ryan McMahon is a guy who was at one point like the hottest hitter in baseball over the last week. But the problem is that with the 3 lefties, he's not a guy who typically hits lefties very well. But he is in Coors. So I would say use your best judgment there. It depends on who your other options are. But, McMahon is not a must start for me this week, but he's a guy who I'm looking at if you're okay with him possibly, only playing at least 3 games, but maybe getting into some of those other 3 games as well, might give you some power there. And then at catcher, you've got Elias Diaz. Pretty much anytime that guy's in Coors, he mashes. So even in 12s and shallower leagues, unless you've got a JT Realmuto or, Contreras or something like that, I would be probably picking up Diaz and throwing him in for this week. So I like those 3 as my Coors pickups for this week.
Yeah, I like all those calls. Ezekiel Tovar also been swinging a hot bat as of late. So if you're hurting at shortstop, I had to pick up someone for Willi Castro, when he got that concussion. And he's been pretty good for me. And now he gets to go home.
Tovar?
Tovar.
I don't know how he does against lefties, though, is the only thing.
Yeah. But, it's still 7 games at home. So,
6, but yeah.
Or 6 games at home, yeah.
Yep. No, yeah, I still think, if you could definitely do worse than Tovar because he plays every day.
Next set of games, our next team to talk about, my San Francisco Giants. They got 6 games this week. All 6 projected to be against right-handed pitching. And they get at Coors for 3 games. So Who are you looking at for picking up versus for the San Francisco Giants?
Yeah, really, really great lineup. A really great week schedule for the Giants. About as good as you can get for a 6-game week. Outside of having 6 games in Coors like Colorado. They get Dinelson, Lamet, Connor Siebold, and Chase Anderson in Coors. I mean, that's tasty. And then after that, they come home and they get Kyle Hendricks and Hayden Wesneski. Not exactly studs there either. And then they get Stroman, who's pretty good. But 5 pretty bad pitchers that they get to face. So really, you just want to roll. The Giants have so many righty killers on their team, and you're gonna have to monitor on Tuesday whether Michael Conforto is back or not, because I know that he had missed the last 3 games, I believe, and I don't know if you've heard anything, Justin, but I don't know if he's coming back or not tomorrow. I think we're kind of just waiting on the lineup, probably.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything. I'm gonna see if there's any news recently, but like we mentioned in yesterday's episode, they're also getting back Jock Peterson, who hits righties really well, and Tyro Estrada, who's going to play pretty much every day, especially with how well he was hitting before he got hurt. So this is a team where, especially if you're playing in daily lineups leagues, you need to monitor it, because I think we're going to get back to their kind of heavy platooning ways that we've seen in the past from them.
Yeah. But pretty much all the guys that I'm going to mention here are all like righty mashers who I expect them to play at least 5 out of the 6 games, if not all 6. Conforto is one. Lamont Wade and JD Davis are the biggest 2. Like, those 2 have just crushed righties this year. And I mean, Davis has been hitting pretty much everybody, but Wade plays only occasionally versus lefties, but getting 6 righties, he's the big play. And he's also first base eligible too. So you can play him not just in the outfield, but at first base as well. We mentioned Jock Peterson yesterday. He'll be back. He's another righty masher as well. And then another guy who you've got that's maybe a deeper cut that a lot of people might have forgotten about is Mike Yastrzemski. This guy's got a lot of power and can definitely give you some homers and Coors as well. So a lot of guys from San Francisco. I have several Fantrax teams that I have like 3 of these guys starting this week for me. So I definitely think it's a big week to get your Giants in there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another good week is the Milwaukee Brewers. They have 7 games this week, and a lot of them against righties. We talked about yesterday how bad Milwaukee has been this year versus left-handed pitching. We saw it on display against Abbott in his major league debut. They are just atrocious. But the majority of games this week against righties, and with 6 games left in the week, 5 of them are going to be against righties. Who are you picking up from Milwaukee?
Yeah, so Milwaukee gets Kyle Gibson. They got Kramer, Bradish, Luis Medina, Paul Blackburn, and then they finish with JP Sears, who is the only guy on there who I'm, just not a great matchup for them. So it's going to be a very good week for the Milwaukee Brewers. The problem is most of these guys, in their lineup are going to be owned. You're not going to find Yelich on any waiver wires most likely, but Owen Miller is a guy who, despite mashing for the last couple weeks, is still out there in a lot of leagues. And this is a guy with like first, second, third base eligibility. He might even have outfield eligibility if you're in Yahoo. And I think he's getting close to outfield eligibility in NFBC and Fantrax as well. He hits towards the top of the lineup. I think he hits 2 in their lineup. And he hits righties real well. And this might be just a hot streak, but I don't know. Someone had mentioned earlier, because he used to be a Guardians prospect. We had traded for him and then we let him go. Someone had mentioned that Owen Miller has hit at every level that he's been at. So maybe he just needed to adjust a little bit. He's a guy who I'm actually interested in as a possible, more than just a streamer, as maybe holding on to as well. That flexibility could be really key for you too. I mean, imagine having first, second, third, and outfield eligibility with Miller. So definitely pick up Owen Miller this week if he's available. The other guy kind of more under the radar is Joey WIemer. He's been really picking it up lately. He's hitting like 200 for a while, but again, this is a young rookie coming up. had to make some adjustments, and he's starting to. The main problem with him is that he hits like 8th or 9th in the lineup. So you're not going to get a lot of like runs and RBI, but he's giving you steals. He's giving you homers. I think he's got 6 homers and 9 steals, something like that. And yeah, this is going to be a really good week to get WIemer in there if you need to, if you've got an opening for another guy.
Yeah, I mean, Miller's an interesting guy. I'm interested to see what the playing time shakes out with him now that Luis Urias is back, because one of the reasons why he was able to get so much playing time is because they were kind of down guys in Milwaukee, and that's once Urias is back, and now and Adames is supposed to be back on Thursday, like, does some of the opportunities for Miller start to dry up a little bit? Does he go back to being a platoon bat? I think he's at least early in the week, especially for those of you playing in those kind of daily lineups leagues, I think he's a guy that you can kind of put in your lineup and kind of see what happens. And then, if he does end up sitting later in the week, once Adames is back, then we'll know the answer. But maybe he just keeps hitting well enough where they figure out ways to get him in the lineup. I mean, he's a guy, like you said, can play a lot of different positions. So
yeah, I feel very certain that they're not going to bench him, and I'll tell you why. Number one, they're hitting him second. You very rarely see a team hit a guy at the top of the lineup and then just get rid of him. Or go back to a platoon. I just don't see that happening. They've got Bryce Terang, who's been playing sporadically at shortstop, and they've got Andrew Monasterio, who's been sharing time with Terang there. So Urias played third base today. I don't see why he wouldn't continue to play third base. I mean, they can use Owen Miller at second, play Urias at third, and then when Adames comes back, play him at shortstop. So I very much expect that to be the case. I don't see any. I think that they could end up sitting Bryce Terang down maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they need him up, but I feel pretty confident that Owen Miller's job isn't going anywhere, at least while he's hitting.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if he loses some of that playing time. Definitely going to keep playing.
I would be surprised. I think he's been like one of their 2 best hitters with Yelich this year, and I'd be surprised if he did, but we'll see.
Yeah, perennial underrated Yelich. I know he's not the Yelich of old, but
right. He's been
still
great
he's still a very, very good player. Like, he's just, I think people just kind of shit on him because he's not the elite player that he was for a few seasons.
I think what this year has shown is guys like him and Bellinger, if you've shown elite ability in the past, go back in on them when they're cheap. This is
I need Bellinger back so bad.
Oh my God, he's been so good this year. But Yelich has 7 homers and 14 steals. He's hitting .254. I mean, that'll play, man. That's real good. So
it's super valuable where you got him.
He's not the 2018, 2019 version of himself, and he never will be, but he is very good still.
Yeah, I mean, that still prorates out to, like a 20-45 potential season. Like, I mean,
exactly.
I'll take that all freaking day. Like, just just been a monster, and people aren't giving him the credit that he deserves. Let's talk about Cincinnati. 7 games this week, 5 versus righties, including one really, really, really bad pitcher. So
yes, sir. And not just a bad pitcher, but a pitcher who you can run absolutely wild on. So when I make my pitching schedules, I highlight Noah Syndergaard in blue because I want to make sure that if I need steals in a league, I am targeting the shit out of whatever players I have that even cross paths with him. I mean, we're talking guys who might have 1 or 2 steals on the year. I want to make sure that they are facing Noah Syndergaard, because he can give up 10 steals in a game if he can stay in long enough, which might be a problem. But the other thing is this could be Noah Syndergaard's last start for the foreseeable future, because it sounds like with Julio Urias coming back, they're going to push Noah Syndergaard out of that rotation. I don't know if they're going to release him or try to put him in the pen. But, Michael Grove is probably taking over that spot, and I think they pretty much had it with Syndergaard. And they matched up Urias's throwing program with Syndergaard's spot. So I very much expect that change to take place. So Cincinnati gets 7 games. They get 5 versus righties, including Thor. Now, Jake Fraley was going to be the big play this week. The problem, he missed today with allergies. Have you ever seen someone scratched for allergies?
I have not. Like,
I mean, what the fuck, dude? Take Claritin. What are we doing right now? This is professional baseball, and someone's missing a game because of allergies.
This has like the feeling of something else going on.
Yeah,
I don't want to say like he's injured, but maybe he just drank too much last night or something like that. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's probably closer to it.
Like, or maybe he was late to a team meeting or something like this. This just has like, just a weird, like, I've never seen it. Like, I mean, I get that allergies can be bad for some people and, and that they're not debilitating, but like, it's not like this is a young player. Like, this probably should have popped up at some point throughout his career if this was actually a real issue for him. So I don't know. And maybe I'm just being a jerk, but it just seems
No, I agree. I think that, I mean, drinking seems like the most likely thing, or something disciplinary, but like allergies, come on, man. There's no fucking way that a Major League Baseball player is missing a game because of fucking allergies. Like, there's no way. I can't see it. So regardless, I was very upset because I have Jake Fraley in a bunch of leagues, and this was, setting up to be a really nice week to play him. And then all of a sudden, he misses a game. So now he goes from facing 5 righties to 4. And the problem is he only faces like 1 out of 3 lefties. So he might only get 4 to 5 games this week now, which really sucks because, even really, he's not an elite level player as good as he is, but he did steal 3 bases in a game last weekend. So I just feel like with Fraley facing Thor, I ended up leaving him in. So we'll see if that pays off. Hopefully he doesn't have, quote, allergies again today on Tuesday, and he's back in the lineup. But, God.
His hangover should be clear by then.
Okay, good. Well, so, Justin is a former expert on the subject, but no longer. So another guy, Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer actually hits lefties really well. He can hit righties too, though, and he's been one of the hotter hitters in baseball as well. 7 games, Spencer Steer, versus this grouping of pitchers. You got Tahiran, you got Thor, Adam Wainwright. And then, Miles Michaelis is nothing special either. So, you're getting some pretty nice matchups there. And then I have a deep league here, suggestion here. And there's a guy that I picked up in my main event league, and that's Will Benson. His zone contact has gone way up. Now, granted, this is a guy who, has sported 40% K rates at certain points in the minors, even, or close to. He's a guy who very much has a lot of swing and miss in his profile, and I don't know that he'll ever be good enough to be a regular in the majors. He was a former Guardians prospect, but he really cut down on his strikeout rate last year. And so, I was like, okay, maybe Will Benson has a shot. Maybe he can be something. And so they sent him down. He came up this year with the Reds. I drafted him late in the main event, actually. Just to see if Benson would turn in anything. And he didn't in his first go round, but he went back down to the minors, made some adjustments, came back up after his zone contact rate had improved massively. So Benson stole 3 bases over the weekend too. So facing Thor, facing all these guys, he should play most days, at least until they figure out what they're doing with their prospects. I don't know if they're going to get called up this week, but I think the Benson's an interesting deep league pickup. I actually even played him in a 12-teamer where I desperately need steals, and there wasn't anybody else there. Because steals is still one of those stats where you can't find it just anywhere in leagues. Sometimes you're going to have leagues that just are dried up when it comes to steals, and you're going to have to dig a little deeper, and I think he's an interesting name. So we'll see what happens with Benson, but I just wanted to put a little deeper league name there. Now, I'm guessing you probably didn't even consider him for your NFBC pickups this week.
Not really. I mean, I
don't know.
I did need in my main event. I mean I lost 3 outfielders last week. So
holy shit.
I lost TJ Friedel, Lars Nootbaar, and Cedric Mullins. So like I was
Cedric Mullins. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
On top of losing Nestor Cortez in that.
You should tell the people you met, was it Gunnar Henderson, right?
Yeah, I did meet Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, I went to the Giants game on Friday with my wife, and we got there early, and we were kind of walking around the stadium because we don't usually get to games super early. Usually running late, but we ended up getting there like 2 hours ahead of time. We were one of the first people in the stadium, and we were kind of walking around and going to some of the sections that we don't necessarily usually sit in because they're too much money. And Gunnar Henderson was signing autographs.
That's awesome.
And so my wife's like, I was like, I don't have anything for him to sign. My wife's like, just go and get a picture. I was like, yeah, sure. So I went over to him. He was super nice. He sat there for a good half hour and signed autographs and chatted with people. Really, really nice dude. Took a picture with me, chatted with me for a little bit, and and then went out and hit a game-winning home run against my Giants, which was a little bit depressing. So
now,
and then got hurt the next day.
Now, did you give Gunnar your phone number to pass on to Mullins, or?
I didn't, but I should have.
You should
have. Yeah.
I mean, it's your time to make your move, man.
Yeah, that should have. I mean, I what I really want to do is try to go find Cedric, but as the only person who believed in him, before the breakout, that's not true.
The only one in the entire world.
His mama didn't believe in him, but I did. Right. But yeah, no, it was cool. It was cool to meet him and chat with him for a little bit. But yeah, no, Benson is a guy that I love the raw skills, but he is just that. He is still super, super raw. There's way too much swing and miss. I definitely considered him because with TJ Friedel out and Nick Senzel always being banged up, like there's an opportunity for him to play. And all it takes is him to just be hot for a week. And all of a sudden, like he hits 4 home runs, steals 3 bases, and you're like, this was like a huge $1 pickup. I didn't end up pulling the trigger on him anywhere, but I don't mind the gamble, especially if you're playing like DFS this week. He's going to be extremely cheap. So let's move on and talk about Arizona. They've got 6 games. They have 3 games versus left-handed pitching and a bad SP on the docket. Who you targeting here?
Yeah, so they're facing Jake Irvin, Patrick Corbin, Joey Wentz, Matthew Boyd, Lorenzen. I mean, the best pitcher they're going to face this week is Josiah Gray. So not too shabby. Unfortunately, I would assume all of these guys are going to be owned in most leagues. Obviously, guys like Christian Walker are going to be owned, but even probably Lourdes Gurriel has had a monster year so far.
He's been insane this year. He's been one of the top players.
He's been so good. Yeah. He didn't do anything for the first 3 weeks. Like he had no power, and then all of a sudden he just broke out and was just massive. And he's, I mean, if Lourdes Gurriel is available in your league, pick him up and hold him.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine either. I mean, there might be some 10-teamers out there or something, but most leagues, Lourdes Gurriel, probably Ketel Marte too. But on the off chance that either of them are available, pick them up and start them this week. And then the other guy is Jake McCarthy. Came up, was it last week or the week before? I can't remember.
Last week, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's just been running wild. I mean, Jake McCarthy, he was highly debated in the offseason because the skills are very much like a slap hitter, basically. But he runs a lot, and he had a monster year last year, and he hit some homers too.
He legitimately won people leagues.
Oh yeah,
he was amazing, and he has that league winning upside because of the amount of stolen bases he can get. He profiles as a 4th outfielder, but a guy who, because he can move on the bases, can be really valuable if he gets playing time. And right now he's hot.
Yeah, exactly. So he went down to the minors. He pretty much stopped striking out altogether in the minors, and not that he had really a strikeout problem to begin with, but he was just hitting everything. And so they brought him back up. Like you said, he's hot. And he's continued that. And he's a guy who is capable of just going on a monster tear when it comes to steals. So if you need steals and Jake McCarthy is somehow available, please God, add him now and get him in your lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move over to Pittsburgh. They got 6 games. Who are you targeting here?
Yeah, Pittsburgh. It's only 6 games, but he's got some good matchups too. They get Oakland's rotation, so they saw Sears on Monday yesterday. Today they get James Kaprelian, and then they get Hogan Harris. They also get Cody Sengai, Trevor McGill, and Carlos Carrasco. So they avoid Scherzer and Verlander from the Mets. All those guys are hittable. So you've got a pretty good schedule for hitting, and you've got Ke'Bryan Hayes, who is just going off right now. And even when he's not homering, he's coming close to homering. Like he almost hit one out today, hit one out yesterday on Monday. Ke'Bryan Hayes is a guy who I've been waiting on for so long. I mean, he's a guy who he runs, he hits the ball hard. But man, he had injury issues when he first came up, and then he wasn't hitting the ball very hard. He had a low launch angle. Now it seems to all be coming together. This guy is a monster talent. Like, he just needed to put it together, and he's capable of being a guy that you're not only just playing for this week, but you're holding on to long-term and probably even starting as your third baseman. So if Ke'Bryan Hayes is out there,
check your wires, because I saw him on wires and stuff. And
in Yahoo, he is available in a lot of Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, check your wires just in case, because I mean, it's a guy, like you said, he hits the ball hard, he can steal bases, he makes really, really good zone contact. Like, he could legitimately be a 5 category player.
Yes.
And Pittsburgh is better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Like, I know that they
really
slowed
are
down from the beginning of the season, but they're still, the top half of that lineup is still pretty darn good. So I love Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yeah, and so he was hitting leadoff, and then in mid May they moved him down to the 6th spot, or 5th and then 6th. So they now have him hitting the bottom part of the lineup, but if he keeps hitting, they're going to move him back up. So, they've already proven that they like him a lot. I mean, this is a high draft pick guy,
Gave him a contract.
Yeah. He's a cornerstone for them. So this is a guy who is not going anywhere. Pick him up. The other guy is Andrew McCutchen, who's been good lately, and he's had a good year overall on the season too. Like, you might not be, thinking, oh, he's kind of old by now, but McCutchen's still hitting right now. And, he's known for hitting lefties, but he's been hitting righties as well. And so while he gets only 2 lefties this week, it's a good schedule, and he should be productive for you. And he's a guy who I think he's not available in any of my fan tracks, but I think he's available in all of my Yahoo leagues. So, for those shallower leagues, and he's still running too. He's got 8 homers, 7 steals, hitting 272. So he can help you in average as well.
Yeah, McCutchen's one of those guys that he is boring and old, but he's been very, very productive. And again, top half of that Pittsburgh lineup's been pretty darn good this year. So I'm with you there on McCutchen. Let's talk about your Cleveland Guardians. 6 games and 5 of them are versus righties.
Yeah, and so when I initially did my pitching projections, before a bunch of stuff changed, they're supposed to face 3 righties and 3 lefties. So I was thinking, okay, Josh Naylor's going to the bench. Well, now it turned to 5 righties out of 6 games. And Josh Naylor's been playing even versus most lefties these days, because he's pretty much been the Guardians' best hitter this year. I mean, it's either him or Stephen Kwan, honestly. And for power, it's definitely Naylor. Naylor's a guy who all the metrics were screaming that he was going to start hitting. And, sure enough, he had that one weekend where he had 3 homers. And even when he's not homering, he's hitting it off the wall against good pitchers too. When he was facing, I think, Pablo Lopez, when we were facing the Twins, he hit one off the very, very top of the wall. Joe Ryan is who he was facing at the time. So he just missed a homer there. He's been crushing the ball. He hits the ball hard consistently. He's got a high barrel rate, and he keeps improving each year in every metric. His contact rate keeps getting better. His strikeout rate is under 17%. His XBA is 297 this year. He's only hitting 254. And even projections, Steamer has him hitting 272. The Bat has him at 273. So this is a guy who legit can hit the ball hard and give you a good average, plenty of homers, and he runs a little bit on top of that. He's got 4 steals this year. So he's also got 41 RBI this year. He only has 17 runs because the Guardians offense sucks. But RBI, if you're looking for homers, RBI, and average, he's a great guy to not only pick up but also hold.
Yeah, I love Naylor. As long as you're not getting a knife fight with him, he's a really, really good player. So the other guy that you're going to talk about is a guy I did pick up in a bunch.
Oh, okay. A lot of people picked him up, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Will Brennan has been his playing time has been coming up a lot lately. And end of May, he had 4 straight multi-hit games. He had 3 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits, and then 1 hit, including a homer and a steal in there as well. So he's not a guy who has a ton of power. But he is a guy who can run. He's got 5 steals and only 143 plate appearances because, he's not playing full time, but he has the ability to play full time. And I think they honestly want him to play. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're probably still going to sit him against lefties, but they want him to be an everyday player versus righties. He started out the season that way. And then when he wasn't hitting, they started to sit him. But the more the season's going along here, the more it's looking like, they already sent down Oscar Gonzalez. Like, he's not a factor anymore. So, really, like, the right field job is pretty much his for the taking. So he should play versus almost all righties moving forward. He'll probably still sit versus the lefties, but I think he's like Steven Kwan. I think he has the ability to hit lefties. He has that elite contact rate. And he's a very interesting pickup if you're looking for someone who can give you some good average with some speed.
Yeah, I liked him. I felt like he was going to play a fair amount this week. It was probably a short-term stream for me, but like I said, I needed outfield, especially in my main event league. So I went and grabbed him for fairly cheap. I think I got him for $5. So I was pretty happy with that. Yeah. Miami's got 6 games, all versus righties.
Yeah. And again, there's probably guys like Jorge Soler not going to be available. Arias not going to be available. But Brian De La Cruz has been lighting it up for the last, I don't even know, 3 weeks maybe. Mm-hmm. He's been good for a while, and it's sustainable. I mean, this is the guy that, we saw at the end of last season. When early season, we were like, oh, maybe it was a mirage because he pretty much sucked for all of April and part of May. But then, as we got into, as the weather started to warm up, well, I shouldn't say that because it's probably always warm in Miami, but
well, and it's the dome. So
Oh yeah. Climate control. All right. Well, never mind on that. But regardless, as he got going, Brian De La Cruz has really turned it on lately. And honestly, he can hit righties and lefties. I think he has more power versus righties, but just like his average versus lefties is insane. But he gets to face, he faced Mike Myers yesterday. Today he gets Greinke. And then the next day he gets Jordan Lyles. Then De La Cruz gets the White Sox trio of Cease, Kopech, and Giolito. So really not many tough matchups for him this week. So Brian De La Cruz is a guy who I think could be a long-term pickup for you, not just a stream. If he's out there, go get him.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's a guy that I've definitely been trying to pick up in leagues where he's still available. I actually dropped him in a league right before he got hot, and I've been kicking myself ever since. I hate when that happens.
I know. It's
San Diego, they have 3 games in Coors. Who are you targeting there?
Yeah, again, this is another team where unfortunately most of the options are going to be owned. Bogarts, Tatis, Soto, Machado. Obviously all owned. Gary Sanchez is an interesting guy who I didn't actually put on this list, but he's been on fire since he came up. I think he hit another homer yesterday as well. And anytime you're going to Coors and you got a guy who can hit some home runs, but I also wanted to highlight Ha-Seong Kim. Ha-Seong Kim has been running wild lately. I think he's got like 5 steals in the last week. My concern with Kim is he might be a bench player now because, well, it depends on if Bogarts is healthy. If Bogarts is back, then that's the concern because Rougned Odor has come out as this big time threat against righties now. They're playing Odor versus all righties, and they're hitting him higher in the lineup than Kim too. So really, like, where's Kim going to play? Because if you've got Bogarts at short, I mean, Kim will play versus lefties at second base, but versus righties, he might be sitting. So this is one of those things where I want to recommend him for this week because they go to Coors and because he's running wild, but I don't know the playing time situation. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, and I mean, it looked like Odor had gotten banged up, but he let off today. Though Odor did go 0 for 4, at the with the leadoff spot for San Diego. So Odor is just not very good. I'm not super worried about.
I hear you. Yeah, long term, I think if you're in a deep league, I think you definitely hold Kim. But
Bogarts is dealing with an injury too right now.
He is. Yeah. They're saying it's day to day. So assuming that that's true, which we don't know, I couldn't play Kim in my Fantrax and Yahoo leagues because I don't have confidence in the playing time right now.
Yeah, I played Kim. I'm not
okay.
worried about it. I think even if all their guys are healthy, which they're not right now, I still think they're going to figure out ways to just get him in the lineup, whether it's as a utility guy or not.
They could do that, and I don't know why they haven't. Didn't they try when he first came over to get him in the outfield? Because that's where they could use him. Honestly,
I feel like they did.
Or DH is another possibility because Matt Carpenter is looking like shit right now too. So
yeah, and Nelson Cruz hasn't been great either.
This situation reminds me of Jake Berger with the White Sox. There's plenty of opportunity. You're just waiting for them to come to the conclusion that, oh yeah, we probably should be playing our best players. So it's Moncada sucks. Sheets is not very good. Even versus righties, he's fine, but Berger's better. I don't know. It's just teams that do dumb things like that. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. At the same time, just bet on talent. I understand. You definitely want to try to optimize things as best you can with playing time, and playing time is king. But ultimately, at the end of the day, especially when you're playing a long game, talent tends to win out. More often than not.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. Next on the docket is we have the Minnesota Twins, who have 6 games, 5 versus righties. Who are you picking up there?
Yeah. So this is a guy who again, same situation. The talent has been there, but the playing time seems sketchy right now. But the Twins have been inundated with injuries lately. Mm-hmm. I mean, now they've got Kirilloff is sick and Correa's hurt. Buxton's hurt, and Royce Lewis just fell on his head, so he's hurt. I mean, they're just a mess. So originally, I didn't even bid on Willi Castro because I just didn't see a path to playing time for him. What I should have told myself was the Twins have one of the most injury-prone lineups in the history of baseball. So, the fact that they're thinking that they're going to keep this team healthy for more than a week at a time is a fool's errand. So I should have thought about that and just bid on him, but I didn't. But Willi Castro has been on a tear lately, and it's honestly not a great week. A lot of these plays are better plays than him, honestly, because they have better schedules than him, and he's still going to sit some games. Even with all the injuries, he's not playing every day. And they get Eflin, they get Glasnow, they get Kikuchi. They do get Manoah. That's nice. And then they get
and we saw on Monday what Manoah means.
Yeah. Manoah is a great matchup, but and Kikuchi's fine. But Gausman, Glasnow, and Eflin, we don't know who Tampa's using on Wednesday yet, or at least I don't. It could be a pen game. They could use Criswell again. I don't know what they're going to do. But anyways, I definitely think that Willi Castro's interesting and worth keeping an eye on. I don't know that I would play him this week. In deep leagues, I would. I wouldn't in the shower leagues, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I picked up Castro in a couple of my 15-team leagues, but
that's fine.
I think at 12 it becomes a little bit more difficult depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah, you should have better options and more sturdy options than that.
What are you doing with Washington this week?
Yeah, Washington. They get, what do we got here? 6 games, 5 versus righties, 1 versus a lefty. It's not a great. So when they when the Braves demoted Soroka, Smith Shawver got his spot. So I feel like that's not going to be a matchup that I'm going to want to target. I don't know how he's going to do, but I imagine he's probably not going to get pummeled. I think he's got pretty good stuff. Strider, Elder, and Merrill Kelly are all good to very good pitchers. So not a great week for matchups, but the Nationals have quietly had some really good performers so far this year. Keibert Ruiz is crushing right now. He's been one of the best catchers in baseball over the last several weeks. Luis Garcia is hitting the crap out of the ball. He's hitting second in that lineup. Candelario is hitting up in that lineup too. I want to say third or fourth. Let's see. Candelario, yeah, hitting fourth pretty much most games. And well, him and Meneses pretty much switch between third and fourth. So pretty much like, and Lane Thomas might even be out there too. They quietly, Washington has a collection of a bunch of really solid hitters. I particularly like Lane Thomas, Keibert Ruiz if you need a catcher. Luis Garcia is starting to break out, and his metrics have been really good this year. He's making more contact. He's hitting the ball harder. There's been a noticeable change. Meneses, super, like, really high average guy. The power just hasn't been there yet for him. I don't know if it's coming or not, but he's been good for average and for runs and RBI. And Hamer Candelario has kind of been just like a really solid guy. Like, he's going to hit 260. He's maybe like 20 homers with solid runs and RBI. He doesn't run, but he's just one of those glue guys that you just throw in, and he's just a really solid performer for you. None of these guys are like super, like, I need to have them for this week because the schedule is not great for them this week, but they're all guys who should either be owned or on your radar.
Yeah, I mean, the hard thing with the Nationals is you have a lot of guys who do pretty much the same thing, which is hit for average and not much else. Right. And none of them strike out. Like, a lot. I mean, you're not running into a bunch of guys with 25% or greater strikeout rates, which makes them a hard team to stream against, because I think a lot of people look at Washington as like, oh, this is a bad team. Right. I should stream against them. You should definitely not stream against them, especially if you're streaming lefties, because this team kills left-handed pitching.
Yeah, they do kill lefties. I'm okay with streaming righties against them if it's a good enough righty, but lefties, they crush.
Yeah, this is a top 5 team this year in WOBA versus left-handed pitching. And like I said, they do not strike out. So be careful if you're streaming pitchers against, especially lefties, against Washington. Atlanta has 5 righties this week. What are you doing with them?
Yeah, again, this is another team where pretty much their entire lineup is going to be like massively owned. The one guy who might not be is Eddie Rosario, and he's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last week. He just hit a grand slam off of Willi Castro, the closer for the Diamondbacks, a couple days ago. That was terrible because I own a bunch of Castro and I own no Eddie Rosario. But Rosario looked kind of lost at the beginning of the year, but and he's still striking out too much. When he was his elite self, he was striking out about 15% of the time. Now he's striking out 25% of the time, but he's just looking a lot more like he's hitting the ball harder now. His barrel rate is the highest of his career. He's never been a barrel guy. Like, even when he hit 32 homers in 2019, his barrel rate was like 7.5%. So, like, he's always had a low barrel rate. He's been a pull hitter. He pulled the ball 49% of the time, and that's what he's doing again this year. He's got a 49.5% pull rate to go along with a career high hard percentage and hard hit percentage, 39.7% hard hit percentage and a 41.2% hard percentage. And then Rosario also has the highest max EV of his career this year at 110.4. So as he's getting his old man strength, he's kind of transforming from the higher average guy that he used to be into a lower average but more power kind of hitter. And he's looking like like an actual a guy that you want to be holding on your teams, even like in 12-team leagues.
Yeah. I mean, like I kind of buried him, but I think Rosario's one of those guys that he's shown that he can be a streaky guy. So kind of want to take advantage of the streak while it's going. It may slow back down, but right now I think this is a piece of the lineup that you want. Atlanta's a really, really good offense. So if he's playing every day in Atlanta, that's a really good sign. All right. Texas. What are we doing here? I mean, you just want to pick Texas, right? Like, it's funny because we talked about Jacob deGrom being put on 60-day IL yesterday. Imagine if they had a healthy Jacob deGrom.
Oh my God,
on this team.
I mean, insane. This off. I mean, I don't even want to start like my elite pitchers versus Texas right now, let alone like mediocre to just good pitchers. Like, this entire offense is just ridiculous right now. They have, like, looking on roster resource, they have 6 top 50 hitters over the last week. And even over the regular season, 5 hitters in the top 50 in the regular for the whole season so far. Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Nate Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Josh Jung, Leody Taveras, Ezekiel Duran. This whole lineup is just full of bangers. And Jonah Heim is one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. Their catcher. And P.S. They just got Mitch Garver off the DL or off the IL. Sorry, and he's DHing most games right now. So pretty much, if you can pick up someone who has the letters TEX next to their name, do it. Even though their schedule this week is nothing really special. They've got 6 games, 4 versus righties, 2 versus lefties, but they get like, Eflin, McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Flaherty is okay, Matthew Liberatore, and Adam Wainwright they faced yesterday, and they hit him up pretty well. But just really anybody. I would say maybe there's a possibility that someone dropped Ezekiel Duran when he got hurt. If they did, pounce on him. I mean, hopefully you did that a while ago. I found him available in one of my leagues, and I picked him up immediately.
He was my Altuve replacement this week, so I was pretty happy about that.
Oh, does he have second base eligibility in that league that you're talking about?
No, I put him in MI. Okay.
That's a damn good replacement. I mean, that's a guy that you're going to hold on to too. Duran is really, really good. And maybe there's a possibility Jonah Heim's available. I mean, I don't see many of these guys being unavailable in most leagues, but if for whatever dumb reason they are, I mean, maybe Leody Taveras, pick them up because this offense is. Yeah,
Taveras should not be because Taveras has been fantastic.
None of these guys should be. I mean, Duran shouldn't be. All these guys should be owned, but if they're not, go pick them up. I don't care that their schedule sucks this week. Like, this offense is going to just be. I mean, I don't even know how many runs Semien has, but he's got to be closing on like 70 already. Like, he's been. I mean, this team just produces runs and RBI like nobody's business. Okay, I was a little high, but 54 runs and 47 RBI. I mean, that has to be way up there compared to most people. So, like, his rest of the season projections, Zips has him for 72 runs. I'd put him on a pace for 126 runs, and that's using a conservative projection system. So, yeah, go pick up the Rangers. Anybody on their offense. They're all good.
Yeah, right now Marcus Semien has the most amount of runs scored in baseball and the tie for 4th most amount of RBIs in baseball.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
he's the number 3 overall rated player for the season.
Yeah.
According to Roster Resource.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Is there an offense you're avoiding this week?
Yeah, so Seattle really drew the short stick this week. Not only is like pretty much their entire offense floundering right now, but they're the only team in baseball that only gets 5 games this week. And not only that, they face Joe Musgrove, Michael Wacha, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last month and a half, Shohei Ohtani, Griffin Canning, who's been really good lately, and then they get Patrick Sandoval, the only real that's a fine matchup. So pretty much bench all of your Mariners this week, assuming you can. I mean, there's like one league where I literally had to leave Teoscar and Kellenic in, and it pained me so much because I was like, oh, I'm getting 2 games from them in the first half of the week, and it's versus fucking Musgrove and Waka, so they're not gonna do dick anyway. So yeah, get your Mariners the fuck out of the lineup.
Yeah, I unfortunately I started Kellenic in a couple spots, but is what it is. You know, he's been good enough this year where it's all right. So all right, let's do an Earth review. Let's talk about what's going on in the Earth League before we wrap up.
Yeah, well, you tell me. What is going on?
Barf has been killing it, baby. Gotta love to see that. It's been you know, I know Barf has been kind of the laughing stock of things, you know,
it has been,
over the last you know, since we started this overall finishing. Did we finish last both years?
I believe so. And it was not even remotely close, I don't think.
Yeah. So but currently the number one league, now he's given us 2 different standings. I don't know, I can't remember which one we're actually using. Are we doing by total points or by league rank?
Well, what do you mean? The total points is what is how you determine who's winning.
Okay, so Glarf is in first place, which is unfortunate. How are you doing in Glarf?
See, yeah, I knew you had to get your shot in somehow. Well, yeah, it's been a rough season so far, but this is the thing, guys. If you grind it out, if you keep going at it, if you're a good player, you're gonna make it up. Like, I'm currently in last place in Glarf, which
I didn't even know. I knew you weren't doing well, but I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in last place. Let me tell you something. I haven't finished in even like double digits in an NFBC league in like a decade. I don't even know if I have, honestly. I think there was one OC that I gave up early on because I spent all my money by like June. I think it was the year that whatever year Acuna came up, but yeah, that's like the one time I finished in the bottom half of the league. I'm not going to finish in the bottom half of this league. I don't care where I am right now. I'm going to find a way to get back up. My team isn't bad. I've just had a lot of blow-ups, and I had another one today, unfortunately, with Mike Myers. I was like, come on, man. I mean, this team is just taking hit after hit. There's been so many injuries. I did a detailed review of Mike Larf's team on the podcast with Sarah, What the Fab, where we go over a lot of stuff. It's actually a really good episode. If you guys want to go and listen to her podcast, you definitely should. Mm-hmm. Justin was on there as well. I can't speak to that. It probably sucked, but
I thought it went pretty well.
I'm kidding. I'm sure it was fine.
I would like to point out you finished 12th in your TGFBI league last year.
Yeah. How much effort did I put into that, though?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just saying.
I think I did Fab 3 or 4 weeks last year. It's been the same this year. I'm sorry, man. Like I feel bad because I want to have time and I never do. My time management skills are horrendous.
I too love that. So I'm looking at your historical record. And you're right. Like, you know, it's been a long time since you only have one other double-digit finish.
Was it in OC?
It was in that 750 OC.
Yeah,
that you did in 2018. But there was one that you drafted in 2010, which looks like your first season. You finished 10th in your league, and your team name is Drafting in January equals Bad Idea.
Wait, what kind of a league is it?
It was a satellite league, a slow draft.
Oh, slow draft. Oh, like a DC. Okay.
Yeah.
I did a DC back in 2010.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even think I did. Huh. That must have been the first time I ever did a DC. And honestly, like, I've only done like a half a dozen DCs in my life. So that's kind of crazy that I did one that long ago. That's funny though.
I just saw the name because you know Dave's one of those people where it's like his name is his name. It just says less than Dave on all of his pretty much all of his team. So then you have one that just says Drafting in January. Bad Idea.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. I forgot about that. I remember that OC. And I remembered when I spent like the last of my money, I said, fuck this league. And this is like, I'm actually surprised it was only 2018. It feels like so much longer ago than that. But yeah, it just, everything went wrong. And I just can't. That was the only time in my life that I can remember giving up. And I don't remember why or what led me to that, but I just did not want anything to do with that league anymore at that point. And I believe Vlad Sedler was in there with me. And I think I finished like 14th and he finished 15th, I think.
Well, it's an OC, so you're probably only
12. Or yeah, what place did it say I got?
You got 11th.
11th, okay.
And
yeah,
I don't see Vlad in it.
Okay.
I do see Brian Vogel won it.
Okay. Who got 12th?
Someone named Chris Glue.
Okay. Well, I'm going to apologize to Vlad then because I don't want to put it out there. I know there was a league where we both.
Lindy Hinkleman was in it. He finished 7th.
Okay.
And Jason Anthony finished 2nd.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Bay Area really taking it down right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players there. And I don't know why they couldn't. Any of them have been in Glarf over the last 2 years, but
Barf.
Barf, sorry.
So currently, speaking of getting back to the actual topic.
Yes, the actual topic. So yeah, I'm not doing well, but Glarf is. That's all I say this. I do care about myself. I care more about Glarf.
Yeah, so Glarf is doing well, but it's really important for you to do well because how the overall rank ends up working out. It's the people at the bottom that actually are the ones that help the league win the title. Yeah, exactly.
The entire it takes the entire league all being active and trying and doing well because we're all competing against the other leagues. So that's why I make sure that my guys are always staying active and that we're getting a very competitive league. And Glarf has been super competitive all 3 years that we've had it so far.
So Glarf is in first, Turf is in second.
Okay.
Turf is in third, Barf is in fourth. And
you guys slid.
Yeah, we slid back a little bit, which is okay. It happens. First overall right now, Dustin McComas.
Great guy, by the way. Love Dustin.
Yeah, we had him on the pod. He was fantastic. So
we did.
Glad we were able to, because we broke down his draft. So like that's really cool too.
That is
people
cool.
Can go back and listen to that. Second overall right now, Ryan Ireland of Surf. And
he's the commissioner of Surf.
And then Nick Mariano, third place in Nerf. Frank Emiranti is fourth overall in Surf. And Toby G, fifth overall.
I was wondering I knew you had a target there that you were trying to get to by going through all those guys.
I was just, it's, these are all our friends. So like,
of course,
like,
yeah.
Sure. I could go down the entire list, and I'm just talking about people that are friends of ours. So it's good to see all them. I don't know where I'm at in the overall 124th. I'm not doing well either. So
are you? Well, I mean, you've got to be above me though.
Oh yeah, you're 157th out of 165. So embarrassing.
Well, we'll see where we finish at the end of the year, buddy.
Okay, we shall. I think I've got Manoa on that team, so like it's not going well.
I mean, so like I picked up a bunch of injured guys to stash in this league. So one of which has come back and started to pay off already, and Tristan McKenzie, who looked phenomenal when he came back. So I held him for a month. I was like, I didn't like what was out there, and I was like, he's not going to be out super long, and I think he's going to come back and be good. And then I also picked up Adam Duvall last week for a couple bucks too.
Nice.
So I'm hoping. I mean, anytime you get a wrist injury, you never know how the power is going to be. But I thought it was worth stashing him anyways. And Max Fried is a guy who I drafted that I've been holding on to for most of the season because he's been hurt. Friedel should be back soon. I also picked up Oswald Peraza last week as well. I don't know that he's going to come up anytime soon, but he's destroying the minors right now. So,
yeah, I picked up Julio Tehran and streamed him for his 2-start week, and that worked out fairly well today.
It did, but my God, you got some balls. I would not do that.
Well, it's either that or start Alek Manoah again. So it seems to work out pretty quick.
Why are those the options? You could have picked up other guys.
I probably could have. But where I really my pitching's actually, in spite of Alek Manoah murdering me, my pitching isn't my worst attribute. My offense has been really bad. So I spent some money on Nick Prado this week.
Okay. Well, that paid off. Really I think he homered yesterday. So.
Yeah, so that he did. Yep, he went 2 for 5 with a home run, 2 runs scored. So, yeah, good little day for me. So let's see if I can get my way out of 12th place where I'm currently at.
I think we'll both end up significantly higher than where we are.
Yeah, I'm more concerned with the people below me, making sure they're carrying their weight.
There you go. That's that as a true commissioner should.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But you did pick up some good players this year too. I know you guys got Richard Sands, and who else did you guys get?
Stephen Laundress, joined the league. Who's the guy that I got to actually meet in person prior to the Barf draft. We just randomly were at the same Giants game. Really good dude on Twitter. So yeah, so we got some good players, and in the next year we're probably going to be getting back some of the ones that we had to step out for a year because of the unfortunate kind of date that things fell on this year. But it's a good league, and hoping that we can challenge Glarf for that overall title.
Well, that won't happen, but hey, it's always good to have dreams and goals, and I appreciate that. So and I just want to give a shout out to Maddie Davis, who was in first for a long time, but I think he's in second or third now, but he's doing really well in his first year in Glarf as well. Marty Tallman, I noticed you stopped at 5th overall, but 6th overall is Marty Tallman, who's currently leading Glarf. Very proud of him. He had a rough year last year, but he's doing very well so far this year. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. The more we grow Earth, we have more money to give away. It was really cool to give that check to the kids this year in Chicago, and looking forward to donating more money this year.
Yeah, it's a great cause. And if anybody's interested in starting more Earth leagues, if your area wants to start an Earth league, get in contact with Dave or me, and we can try to help guide you and help you put together some leagues. So
yeah, we're definitely going to put more of a focus on that in this offseason. I was a little bit busy last offseason. We just had everything coming together, coming off of that year, but we're gonna keep building Earth into a bigger thing every year.
That's the hope. That's gonna wrap us up for this episode. Or you can follow Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. Follow Friends of Fantasy Benefits at Fantasy Benefits. What you got going on, Dave?
I've got some pitching schedules up on rotosaurus.com, and then as soon as I can get Jake's lazy ass to put the hitting schedules on there, I have it for the current week and then the following week after that. And you guys can check those out, and probably be putting up some more content as well coming up.
Nice. And yeah, you can read most of my work on Fangraphs and Fantasy Pros. I'm writing daily Fangraphs and 3 days a week at Fantasy Pros. Recording with Dave here quite a bit right now, so definitely hopefully you guys are enjoying these episodes, and then obviously on the Sleeper and the Bus podcast as well. For Dave and myself, thank you for listening. Have a fantastic baseball season.